of Rural Council's resource call. Today's call is on building resilient communities. I welcome you that have joined us again this week. This is our second, or this month, this is our second call, and we did start last month. So today our focus is on small town stamina, how communities keep showing up. I'm Andrea Bowman with the Roosevelt Custer Regional Council. And we took over the marketing and education for the North Dakota Association of Regional Councils. So we're spearheading that out of the Roosevelt Custer Regional Council located here in Southwest North Dakota. And we represent the 8 counties in Southwest North Dakota. And so today I am super excited to welcome Vawnita Best. Vawnita is our Community Development Director for Watford City, and Rebecca Undem. She's the founder of Growing Small Towns. This is a nationally recognized voice for rural resilience and empowerment. Together, they bring decades of lived experience in helping communities push forward, even when the path feels a little steep. So super excited to listen to them today and learn what they're doing in their community. So I'm going to turn it over to Vawnita first.
Well, thank you, Andrea, for the invite. I very much appreciate it. And I am going to actually get a short little slide deck up here to share with you all. And let's see if we can pull this off. Are you able to see my screen?
I am not.
Let's see here.
Thanks for going first, Vawnita. I'll just say that.
I might end up hunting real quickly to you.
So
we'll get it.
Did you find the little share arrow?
Yeah, I did. So
I can go first, Vawnita, if you want me to. Oh, wait.
There we
now
go.
we see your screen anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, we see your screensaver.
We're making progress. Now, can you see my deck now?
We still see your main screen.
Oh, let's see here. Let's try this.
I'm sending all the good technology vibes your way presently. We see it. Yay.
Well, praise God. Here we go. Okay, wonderful. Now I have control. Here we go. How does that look to y'all?
Looks great.
All right, so I guess for starters, Andrea definitely laid out a theme, which was building resiliency. And so just to share a little bit of Watford City's story, we were the fastest growing micro community in the United States between 2010 and 2020, according to the US Census. And so we watched our community go from 1,200 people in 2000, and today we're just over 8,500 people according to our wastewater treatment plant numbers, which we find them to be incredibly accurate, as I'm sure you can all appreciate. So over that period of time, I moved back to Watford City in 2007, and over the period of time, I wore a handful of different hats within community development, some official, some not official. But today I serve as the Community and Business Development Director for the city. And we have had the opportunity in our community, because of our growth, to enter into, I would say, growth within our department. So what started out as a county economic developer and a city community developer, now we have had the opportunity to grow to a team of approximately 7 people. And we're very thankful and grateful for that. It's really allowed us to do some things that we simply would not be able to do without our team, without our people. So just briefly, when we think of Watford City, this is how we talk about ourselves and we think about ourselves. And we really went through earlier this year, a process of branding and visioning for the community. And kind of one of the processes we like to use approaching any project in the community is to start with community surveying and focus groups, so we know where the community stands on these items. And so as we went through the process of rebranding and really how we talk about ourselves and leveraging community survey information, when we talk about Watford City, we talk about a community that builds, creates, develops, and maintains. That's who we are. And really, in a nutshell, what it boils down to is we're a community where freedom meets fulfillment. And while we were founded in tradition, we are now rooted in innovation as a community. So our 7-member team, which is our core team, and then of course, I like to explain the way our office works. We're a county, city, and SBDC, Small Business Development Corporation. And, we see ourselves, or we brand ourselves to the community as the development loft. We are now the upper level of our visitor center. If anybody's been to the Long X Visitor Center in Watford City, the visitor center is on the main level. The Long X Arts Foundation is on the lower level, and they host the gallery at Long X. And the Long X Arts Foundation also manages our visitor center. And to make that sustainable and functional, they have a retail arm to their nonprofit. So that is the Merc. And you can see their logo and their brand as well. And so when people come to our community with our overall mission of both community and economic development, as well as visitors and attractions. So this is really kind of our visitor and attraction team, this first slide. And I kind of like to point out that one of our key cogs in our system, or our team, our wheel, is if you have met him, Mr. Brock White. If you have not, I'm sure down the road you will. But what we found ourselves in a situation as, and really was kind of an issue for us being able to achieve sustainability, to have resilience in the face of a headwind, was to be able to tell our story. And so we were utilizing contract services in the past to tell our story. And 2.5 years ago, we brought Brock in-house. And so that has really offered our community the opportunity to tell our story on our channels and at the platforms where we can meet people where they are and connect with them. And so while we have a lot of partners, I always explain the work of our office as, if you've ever coached travel basketball, or you follow, sport and especially basketball, when you do these defensive drills and you put the big rope around the entire defense, and you have to keep the slack out of the rope and adjust and move with the ball and provide 5 people up front defense, that's really what our team is all about. We're constantly aligning and connecting our community assets in a way that best serves the greater good of our community. The other aspect to our mission under our development team is our business and community development side. So we have marketing, we have communications, and then really both on the county side, we have economic development, which focuses on primary, and then we have community development, which focuses on secondary retail, and also overall business and community connections. So these are some of our partners and our brands that we work with on any given day and any given project. And I'll point out the Tri-County, we're in Region 1, so Tri-County and Serena, that is our regional development council team that we work with. And so in addition to that, I'm not sure if anybody has seen one of our recent endeavors, and that was we were the opening episode of season 2 of My Town. So I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with My Town series, but that was one of the few projects where we went outside in the recent history to have My Town help tell our story. And we view that finished product as an opportunity to celebrate the last 15 years of the growth story that we've had, and also for our businesses and even our community to serve as a recruitment tool for them. We do have, I think like many people, we have quite a few different channels and places that we meet our consuming public. And one of the things that has been a key to success for us is the opportunity to work together strategically with Long X Arts Foundation, some of our other ancillary partners, and our core partnership to tell our story is really a marketing plan. And so our team works on a marketing plan frequently. And so we are hitting people, we're hitting our target audiences where they are digitally. We've really shifted over from being in other platforms to being almost solely digital in our communications and marketing plan. That is kind of a summary of, I guess, what I wanted to share with you all. And I think going back to some of Andrea's key points, community resilience, our ability to tell our story, has been a real important part of our resilience. If you do get a chance to watch My Town, and I encourage you to, one of our community leaders, Brady Lund, talked very specifically about how this growth opportunity could have gone one or two ways. The fork in the road, the train could have drove off the rails, or we could have really harnessed the opportunity to build something amazing. We've had the opportunity to build and really develop a sustainable future for our community. And I think that really falls back on the quality of our leadership from our elected officials, our city council, our county commission, our JDA board, our Rough Rider Fund committee. And I would say the piece that if I sent any rural community away with is the importance of being that connector and that alignment piece to keep the slack out of the rope, but keep the rope in a closed circle for communication connection. And in terms of the question about how you keep people showing up, I would say Watford City is not a lot different than many other communities where you have the same 20 people showing up, and they're not on one board, they're not on 2 boards, they're on 5 boards. And really what I think has been helpful is providing them gratitude for showing up and being an advocate every day for the community, and always bringing back around and keeping it top of mind in communications, in content, is a shared vision for the community. And really that we're building that for future generations. And I would say that's all I have to I feel like I'm talking at people, but that's all I have for right now. But would be happy to take any questions after Rebecca is done with her share. So.
Yeah, thank you, Vawnita. I think I just love the Watford City story. I love Watford City. I've done a lot of things up there. It's just always been amazing to me, inspiring to me what the community has been through over the years and how they've just pushed forward, and the things they have in their community are just amazing. And to be able to go to a livestock show in the summer in an air conditioned building is pretty incredible. So I know it wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. And so I recognize all of the hard work and perseverance that took place to keep pushing through all of those challenges, and just really appreciate and admire what their community has done. So thank you, Vawnita. I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca. I let her share her story and thoughts, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Hi there. Thank you, Vawnita. I know I always think Watford City, that's just it's like everybody wants growth, but do we really want that kind of growth and that fast? It's hard. So thank you for sharing all of that. Okay, so this is my opening slide is this is the mission of Growing Small Towns, which is the nonprofit that I founded in 2019. So you're gonna get a little different vibe from me. I wasn't really exactly sure what we were to cover. So this is what I think when I think about what makes a community resilient. So just a second here. Okay, so a couple quick points about me. I'm a proud boomerang. I live in Oaks, North Dakota. I round up to 1,800. Our population per the census is like 1,758, I think. Always trying to get us up to 2,500. I guess we'll see what happens. My background is actually in organizational development. And so a little bit of what I'm going to share kind of comes from that lens. I wrote a book. That's not all that interesting, but I do speaking. I help with training and facilitation. That last bullet point, I now get to call myself a former economic developer because I no longer officially have that capacity in my community. And I think that's a little bit of what's informed this work for me, to be honest. So I'm excited to share with you what I think adds to community resilience through some of the things that I've seen over the past 5 years of having our facility here in Oaks. So this is the building that I'm actually standing in. It's the building that we purchased and renovated in 2020. And I think actually Bob he's in that lower right-hand corner somewhere. It's fantastic to see your face on this call, Bob. But it all started for me with a vision and a dream of something that I wanted to see brought to our community. As a speaker, as a trainer, I wanted a tech-ready space and a flexible space where we could host learning and gathering, experiences. And I also I care deeply about the arts. So the kind of 3 big areas of programming that we try to push forward through the things we do, we are all about supporting the start and scale of small businesses. We think local businesses are the heartbeat of our small town. Again, that fostering of art and culture. And then honestly, the third one is general people development. One of our core beliefs is that when people get better, everything gets better. And so again, that allows me in my work. And this is why I think it's interesting timing, Andrea, that you asked me to be a part of this. The economic development role truly wasn't perfectly right for me. And the way I get to approach this work now, it takes me back to my roots. It actually has forced me in this last year to really reconnect with the why of why I started this, which is a huge part of resilience, I think, is staying connected to the why when things get hard, because things do get hard. This work is hard. Community development work is hard. And so for me, there's kind of one key driving message that I kept reminding myself as I was doing not only this renovation, but as I have tried to move ideas forward, engage with people that maybe are a little bit more resistant or less open to change. As I've interacted with folks like that in the last 5 years, this has been kind of a mantra, and I still carry it with me today. And so I'm going to dive just a little bit into what this actually looks like, because I think one of the best parts about small town living and the hardest parts about small town living is the people. They make it great, and at times, depending on their tone and their words and how they're showing up, they can make it really, really difficult. So my mantra is that we work with the willing and we love the rest. So the question is, who are the willing and how do you find them? I have found that through, especially when I was building out this project, but also still today, there are kind of 5 key roles that I need from people in support. And I really do think for every single one of you, regardless of what it is that you're doing, if you can find these people, they may not be in your own backyard either. That's the cool thing about the world we live in today. You can connect with these people a little more easily than we could 20 years ago, right? When we weren't quite as mobile. It's a good thing for us. So I'm going to just quick touch on these 5 different roles, how they showed up for me as I was building my building specifically. And then we'll talk about what you do with the rest, because they're real and they show up in all of our communities. So the first kind of person that I think we all need are champions. These are the people that legitimately just cheer us on. This is a role that I really try to play for local business owners. And again, so there's kind of 2 lenses you could look at this content. Friends, you could either say, I'm going to suggest that for you to maintain your resilience, to keep your head above water, to feel supported and nurtured in your work, you need these people. But then I think also because you're community and economic development or tourism-based people, we want to think about how do we offer this? Are we offering these things in some capacity in our communities? Because your business owners need this too. Okay, so cheerleading, it's not so much about what you're doing. They're just there to cheer you on because you're you. For me, this is my family. My kids are much older than that now, but that's my husband and my 3 kids. That upper right-hand corner is me and my dad. We were applying some sort of hazardous material to something in our building during the renovation, and that's my mom. She was there to paint. But you need cheerleaders. It gets really lonely and really hard without them. The second are coast drivers. This is a really fun group of humans. These are the ones that are doing something similar to what you're doing, or they're working on something of their own in parallel. That's why, even to be honest, hosting calls like this is so important, because you come together and you recognize that you're actually not doing it alone. The primary role of a coast driving person is that they commiserate with you. Like, you can vent to them because they know what it's like. So this was a group of women. I was part of a paid mastermind group back in 2019, before I bought the building. It is honestly because of these women that I'm standing in a building that I bought and renovated. I never would have done this without their support, they were there for me constantly. And I don't even talk to other, we're not still all connected, which is an interesting thing too. So just recognize that sometimes there's just a point in time when you need these specific people. Accountants are the ones that hold your toes to the fire. Again, accountant is just a role. It's not where you probably need real accountants, but I'm talking about the people that just say, hey, you said you were going to do this, get it done. Matt Marshall is that guy. So there's Bob's face. Bob, look, you made it. Didn't even know you were coming on the call. It's like it was ordained or something. So most of you probably know Matt Marshall across the state. This was at our opening event when we opened our doors to the facility in 2021. And ironically, because we built this thing during supply chain issues, we actually didn't have all of our doors. So it's kind of funny that I said we opened them, because we really didn't have them all. But Matt Marshall was one where I shared with him early on what I wanted to do, and he made a grant possible. So our building is actually owned by me, but the nonprofit is the key tenant. So the grants that we did secure, the partnership dollars that we did secure, actually only helped us to outfit it. So the materials that are inside of it, like all the tables and chairs, the technology, those kinds of things, are what we were able to use partnership contributions for. But Matt was one of those people. I mean, I had a check in hand on January 1st, 2020 from Otter Tail Power Company because of Matt Marshall's support and championing. He championed us so much. And when the pandemic hit and I called him crying and I said, I don't think I can do this, Matt. Like, my husband wants me to give you the check back. Like, we haven't bought the building yet. Maybe we just shouldn't do this. And Matt said to me, Rebecca, this is a great idea. Your community needs it. Your community needs you. I know it's scary. Just don't quit. And so I talk about Matt every time I talk about this particular thing. And I think, again, when it comes to resilience, you need people that can do that for you. And I think, again, whether you're the person that needs it, get it for yourselves, but also, can you be that for somebody else in your community? And then the last one, actually, there's 2 more. Mentors. These are the ones that have done something that you're achieving or trying to achieve. So they can counsel you and advise you. This is different from coast drivers because they've accomplished something that you want. So for me, this is Jordan Degree. He's with the Rural Ideas Network. Trying to start a co-working space in my little town in 2020 was a weird idea. Like, it was weird. People didn't know. Some of them were like, wait, what is this now? So we're renting space, like, it was a whole thing. Jordan had already set up some co-working spaces in rural Iowa, and they were starting and forming the Rural Ideas Network right at the same time that I was trying to get this thing off the ground. He was absolutely instrumental in helping me think through some of the difficult things that I think would have been really hard for me to navigate all on my own. And lastly, challengers are the ones that basically poke holes in all of your assumptions, and they help you when you get too precious about your stuff. Every single one of us, if we're trying to push something forward, or I mean, just think of your biggest community project and it's like your passion project. Along with that passion comes a preciousness that sometimes you don't want to let it get criticized. So we need challengers. We need people that we trust and love enough that'll tell us the truth and help us kind of think through that when we get too close. This is my friend. She's my best friend now too. Her name is Winona. She lives in Nashville, which again, it's like you can find these people. She has been such a tremendous asset. She's on my board of directors now at Growing Small Towns. She was the first one to just say, do you like love economic development? And I was like, not entirely, like I don't love all of it. I was like, I love the things I love. And she said, well, what if we just focused on the things you love, right? So again, just being one of those people to say, how do we make this more you? How do we make this fit better? So these 5 roles are really important. Again, whether you're the one chasing something down or you're supporting somebody chasing something down, how do you step into this and support them in this way? Because you need it. It's impossible to do these things all on your own. Okay, so it's work with the willing and love the rest. So the question now is like, well, who's the rest? And how do we actually love them? So for me, that is what my building looked like while we were under renovation. That's an actual picture that was taken while we were renovating it. And there's that giant dumpster in front of my building. So the WBC is my little pet name, like nickname for the group of people that a lot of times in community and economic development, we refer to them as cave people. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. That's going to come back. I'll have to excuse myself. Okay. Cave people, right? Being citizens against virtually everything. I call them the WBC, which is the Wet Blanket Committee, right? So this is the group of people that no matter how excited you are, they actually just kind of live to snuff out that joy. And I am just simply going to say that we don't, there's not any real way to deal with these people. I think the trap is when we think we can change them or convert them or turn them. The idea of like, well, if we just say it differently, or we just do this, or we just do that. I really, truly think one of the biggest challenges, and this, I'll be honest, for me, when I was in economic development, it was how much energy I felt that I was spending trying to turn people that might never turn. And so I think there's something really powerful to protecting your own energy, that this, and again, if more people can kind of properly position these people, and again, these people are just the ones that don't like anything. I think most of us, I could ask for a show of hands, have you all turned your cameras on? And I bet every single one of you knows a person that you could call part of the Wet Blanket Committee in your community. So I think the whole thing is, how do you take their criticism, take their input without letting it derail you? For me, the biggest thing was just this. I just had to remind myself that I'm not actually inspired by the way they live, the way they show up. They're not somebody I'd want to hang out with personally. So I don't actually have to let their criticism impact me. Now, I get that this is in true community project situations or economic development project situations. These people have a voice. It's their community too. So I'm not in any way dismissing them, but I do think it's really important that you are really bolstered as a person. And those 5 people that I call the willing are how we kind of roll through this. You've got to be supported. You can't do it by yourself. The last thing I wanted to share is so this is my joke of we're going to need a bigger boat. You're really going to need a bigger why. You have to figure out and understand why you're doing this work, because it's hard work. And there's lots of reasons and lots of times that you get pulled away from that, and you get kind of pulled into other people's whys. So for me, I'm just going to share a series of pictures of things that have occurred in this building and why I'm so proud of them, because this has been such a hard 4 years. We have a podcast that's nationally and internationally actually recognized. We have a huge audience, huge following. There's really cool stuff that we're doing. And it's very hard work. And that's what resilience to me is. And we as communities get more resilient when the people individually get more resilient. So this was one of the first major events that we hosted in our building. We partnered with our local arts club, and we hosted a private concert it was a Celtic, like a 3-piece Irish trio. There was like 140 people in our building, and this was the first time I cried just at like, we actually did this. It was a really special event, and it had the kind of experience and vibe that you would expect going to a much bigger city, and we were able to offer that right here. I have loved being a space for youth events and kids, giving them a way to try new things. That's one of our big things is we can't keep doing the same old thing if we want different results. So we encourage people to try. We have recruited and brought tons of different groups down here. We have an affinity for buses at Growing Small Towns. We put people on buses and we bring them down here. That group of women at the Change Starts Here, that side picture there, they came down just based on having heard me speak about our event. They came all the way down from Wawnita, and they now have, well, they were on the podcast too. They now have an incredible consulting group that they formed after this visit. So it's kind of special. This isn't just about Oaks, where we're actually able to share these ideas in a way that goes far beyond the 4 walls of our community. Pull an opportunity to stand on this was a fashion show on the left-hand side there where we did a bunch of, we had 4 boutiques at the time, which was incredible, and hosted a bunch of women and showed off the fashions from our community. A pitch competition with some students from NDSCS. This is our art exhibit. So we always have a rotating art display locally to both launch up and coming artists and to give our community access to it. There's the bus. It happens. We bring buses, people down to Oaks, and they get on these buses. So again, if you invite them, they'll come. And ultimately, we just want our community facility to be known as a place where this is what happens, where people actually show up excited, actually tap into that enthusiasm. And again, I think the whole idea is just we've created a space where that can happen. And we want to make room for everybody. That's what we're about. And I think it ties back to community resilience. But we now have enough time where we can actually take some questions and dive in. So that's what I've got for you. Thanks for inviting me, Andrea.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Rebecca, sharing your story. I've also been to the great town of Oaks, North Dakota. The last time I was there, your building, you weren't in that building, so I need to make it back.
Please come back.
That's on my list. I always need a reason to go visit Jody Bruin, so
yes,
I'll make that on my summer tour list maybe. But thanks for sharing your story and the great things you're doing. I did paste your website in the chat there, so there's links to your podcast on there as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
I just appreciate, I think both you and Vawnita really focused on knowing your why and telling your story. And the other thing that hit home with me was, it's something I always talk about when we talk about communication. You can only control yourself. And we get caught up with the naysayers a lot in thinking that we can control their thoughts and actions, and we can't. And the only thing we can control is how we respond to them. So I appreciate that as well. Does anyone have any questions? Everyone's quiet.
You guys hungry? Is that what's going on? We're coming up on lunchtime.
Yeah, I think one thing maybe in some of our communities is, I think we all know it's important to tell our story, but we struggle, I think, maybe I'm speaking for myself, to make it a priority, and B, to maybe get everyone on the same page about what our story is. So I think that's something too that I know Vawnita really focused in on, that is really focusing on what their story was and how they were going to share it. And I think just knowing that our story is never completely written. It's a work in progress. It's exciting. How do you have any tips on how to put that story together?
Is that for Vawnita specifically?
Either of you.
So here, all I would offer is that I think our stories are like, when I close my eyes and think about what a community story looks like, to me, it's like a beautiful patchwork quilt, right? And there's threads of there, if to be told well and kind of or holistically, maybe there needs to be threads of voices from, I think, all generations, all genders, all sectors of your economy. And so, and I think too, to let it happen a bit organically or give people a way to offer their voice organically is a really important thing. I realize that if you're then trying to collect all of that and put out something that there's some challenge to that. But I just think I think a mistake would be to overly prescribe what it needs to sound like, because the raw, real stories, that's why I think our podcast is so popular, is that we just talk to people and people hear themselves in those stories. So I think just generally that would be an approach to think about. It's just whose voice isn't being represented, and how do we solicit those stories? So that would be my initial thoughts about that one, Andrea.
Thanks. Vawnita, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would add to the question and our community experience, we did do it a little differently. We contracted with a firm out of Bismarck called the Good Kids to facilitate the process. And we actually did that for both the Long X Visitor Center and all of the entities that are housed in that visitor center. And I hadn't heard your story before, Rebecca, but as you were sharing that and laying that out, you did it through a nonprofit. Our visitor center is owned by the city of Watford City, and it hosts and houses a nonprofit, our Long X Arts Foundation, which has a rotating gallery and provides community enrichment classes, arts classes. So our initial branding process of the visitor center and the entities housed within that, that process we did not do a community survey for. But then when the city went out just recently to do the city's rebranding, we were sitting on an old logo from 20 years ago. And really even more so, we had not sat the community members down and really asked them how they felt about their community and how they viewed the community. And so I think it was a really good opportunity for our elected officials to recalibrate and kind of hold up a mirror to the community and see how, we kind of define our community story from prior to 15 years ago, and which was the point at which the boom kind of hit our community. So we had the pre-boom story and we had the story of newcomers. Our opportunity with the Good Kids and the branding process that we went through, we had I think it was just under 400 responses to our community survey. The nice thing is we could demographic that and see the backside of that. What percentage were newcomers within the last 15 years? What percentage was, the multi-generational families that have been here, and be able to aggregate that information, really bring it together in a unified voice, a unified vision, and a way that we could really talk about ourselves when we were sharing our story out.
Thanks. We have someone typing in the chat. I don't see it popping up yet. Any other questions?
I wouldn't mind adding that I always love your take on it, Rebecca, that it's not just about your community that needs to be resilient. It's about us too that need to be resilient. I have a tough time separating myself from the success of the business community. Like if they're not getting enough customers, I feel like I gotta I don't know. I think it's probably just an evolution that I'm going through, having the role and being kind of a one-man show without a team. Trying to make sure that you don't get too personally caught up in how many people are ordering coffee every morning and how many people bought off of the new boutique sale or so I really always appreciate hearing your advice on how to make sure we stay resilient too.
Yeah, I feel that like I personally have recruited business owners back to this community, and I'll just say it like I have one that makes not great choices sometimes as a as a business owner, and what I like will close kind of unexpectedly and with very little warning. And so I've had to have that same conversation with myself, Adrienne, like how do I separate, like I'm not responsible. So I think that's a piece of it, is like getting clear about what is our responsibility to our business owners in whatever respective role you have, right? And then if you ever feel those tendencies to like because it's really overstepping, and it hurts you more than it hurts anybody else. So then kind of coming back to that, what is my role? Have I done everything I promised to do within my role? Sometimes you see opportunities in that though then too, right? Like maybe I should reach out and ask, do a touch point. Like, maybe you'll come back and you'll say there is something I should be doing, but normally it's not, I should be carrying the entire burden of the success of this business on my shoulders, right? Yeah, it's hard. You care a lot, as everybody in this work does. But that's why we're also, I think, really primed to burn out. It's People don't stay in economic development positions very long historically, and I think this is part of it. Is you just feel a really big mantle of responsibility for kind of everything that happens.
Yeah, and working so closely with city government, like governments are kind of designed not to change too quickly or not to jump on
Correct.
opportunities too quickly. So I think that's an interesting evolution too, to get to make sure everybody's playing their role and it's more of a team effort. Yeah, I can plow through and get it all done myself the way I want to do it, but then the resiliency isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if a thing only happens because you do it and there's no other passion, interest, resources available to do it, if you step away from it, is that really sustainable?
Yeah, then you didn't really accomplish anything. So
Yeah.
It's just an interesting, I like your take.
I'm happy to help or offer what I can.
There is a question in the chat. It says, how do very small towns of 100 people get started? We're close to an Air Force base, about 25 miles from a large city. We only have about 4 businesses, no EDC or Chamber of Commerce. Where do we start?
Okay, Lavon. Vawnita, go ahead. If you want to start, please do.
Yes, I'll start. Give Rebecca a moment to think about the question. Here is what I would probably say to that question. And we see this, I would say, in Western North Dakota because, our population is very, very rural. And, in McKenzie County, we have 3 incorporated cities. Watford City is by far the largest. We house half of the county's population. The other 2 cities are very small. They're between 100 and 300 people, and that's Arnie Garden, Alexander. And where we find the most opportunity for those 2 small communities is when we collaborate together in a regional concept and a regional effort. So everything we do related to especially tourism and attraction is focused on that regional model. And so the idea or the concept, that high tides raise all ships, we really believe in that. And so really try to focus on the regional aspect of those opportunities. And I don't even know if the city that you're in is a home rule charter community, but definitely that opens a lot of other opportunities when you're incorporated, your home rule charter. But there's definitely that need for a critical role mass, and that usually comes with multiple small communities collaborating together regionally.
And I think what I would offer to that is like find your champions, find other people, and they may be in the community next door. And I think a regional approach is I still, it like floors me every single time. I still hear this like, well, we don't want them to succeed because there are, and it's like, if we can just continue to beat that drum of like, that is such outdated and poor thinking, like it's not, and that's not sustainable, right? So I'm glad that Vawnita brought that up. I think a regional approach. On our podcast, we're going to have Ben Winchester come back again. He's been on twice already. I know Ellen's group just had him in Bismarck or Mandan in October, and he had some really cool data that just talks about how mobile our communities actually have become and how far we'll travel for eating out, how far we'll travel for work, how far we'll travel for recreation. And once you start really drawing those swings around your community, you realize really quickly that if you're not working with those within those swings to promote those things, you're missing opportunity. So I think no matter how small you are, look for the champions, whether they're in your own backyard or in the communities around you, and just start gathering and saying, I think and I don't know specifically, Lavon, if you were asking about telling your story specifically, or if it was just how you start in general. I'm not sure, but if it's about telling your story, it doesn't have to be super complicated. In a situation like Watford City, where there was a lot of growth, and so that there was some cash to support the development of those things. I mean, that's just real. Not every community can go out and hire an agency, but I think again we sometimes overcomplicate it. There are good stories to tell. It's simply that question of, why do people live here? Why are people here? And find out what their stories are, what they love about it, and decide, I guess, what route you want to take to share them. Because I think it also depends on, why are you sharing them? Are you sharing them for yourselves? Or are you sharing them to recruit people? Just doing a little bit of even light strategy around, why would we start telling our story? What are we hoping to accomplish? But you just can't do it by yourself, Lavon. Find your champions, find the people that care about your region and community the way that you do.
Yeah, thank you. And Ellen, thanks for putting in the chat to reach out to your regional council. I probably should have thought of that one myself, huh? But and I think that's a good start of finding your people and making connections. And that's really one of the roles that we play as regional councils, is making those connections. As we close here, I just want to point out one more thing. I know you both talked about, Vawnita talked about Watford City being founded in tradition. And Rebecca talked about know your why. And I think that's so important when you move forward, no matter what you're doing, is know your why and don't lose focus of that. One of you talked about looking in the mirror every now and then and reflecting where you're at. And I think those are just really good takeaways when you move forward in community work, is knowing your why and being resilient yourself and modeling that way for other people. And that can be really hard. And I think part of that, having that team on your side, is that you have that person that you can go to maybe when things aren't fabulous, and saying, I think Rebecca talked about the one day she was like, I don't think we can do this. This building isn't going to happen. And someone just with an encouraging word and saying, yes, I think you can. And so find those people that are there for you and will be part of your team. But also, I think is a reminder to myself, is don't forget to be that person for someone else. I think that's a huge role we can play in resilience in our communities, is just offering those words of encouragement, whether it's a business owner, whether it's someone that's sitting on their fifth board meeting of the day, they don't have quorum to move forward, just giving them those words of encouragement that, your voice matters, your time matters, and we're happy you're here. I think those are really important, and just knowing your why. So I'll open it up to one more question. Anyone have a lasting question? I just want to thank Rebecca and Vawnita for taking the time to be here today. You both do great work. I follow the things that both of you do, and I just admire the things you do in your community. So thank you for that. Give yourself a hand, a pat on the back. And I know you play a huge role in the resilience in your individual communities. So thank you everyone for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you on our next call, which is December 17th. We're going to talk about thriving in small markets. Thought maybe that's an appropriate topic for the holiday season. And then I did put in the chat, Ben Winchester I just confirmed with him, he will be here on our January 21st call. So any final thoughts from anyone or questions? Well, thank you all so much. I hope you have a great day and enjoy your time in this beautiful North Dakota fall day.
Thank you, Andrea. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.